And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Naomi Calhoun, if you're interested in my last name, and we are live with the Survivor New York gang, shall we call ourselves? Are we maybe a cult if we're interested? I'm Naomi, that's right, videographer and producer of Survivor New York. And with me, I have, first of all, Chris Lord, our host and founder of Survivor New York. Chris, how the hell are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here with everybody, with a big legend in my series, Alex, and then Miss Serena, the first queen of season 3, and of course with you.
Oh, thank you. I thought I was going to be the big legend, and so now I'm a little upset, but we'll move on from there.
A legendary production.
You're a legend in your own mind.
Yeah. That is true, and I think other people would agree that I am my own biggest fan. So we also have, as we said, season 1 and season 2 almost winner, Alex Forsyth.
Oh, thank you. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you didn't watch season 1 or 2, you're really missing out on Alex's crushed face.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
How's it going?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Really excited to talk about this new season that I'm not going to lose.
Did you lose our draft? We did do a production draft at some point, so you might have lost there.
I picked Serena.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I remember you telling me about this, and I was like, well, sorry.
She was my first pick.
Yes, you.
Oh my god. I was the first pick? Oh my god.
Well, no, I didn't have the first pick, but you were my first pick.
Okay. That's rough, though.
Yeah.
I was happy with the pick, and I still stand by it. I think it was a good pick. Well, I mean, obviously, if I knew you were going to get voted out first, I wouldn't have picked you. But the potential was there, and it's still there. I think you're a great player.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more. I think Alex. I think I remember when you made that pick. I was like, "That's a good pick. That's a good pick." Because I really was. So you just had this like strategic mind that I was like, it's gonna slap. I can't wait to steer out of the field. So Serena, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hunkering down at my parents' house.
Hell yeah.
I'm back living with my parents. Exciting times during this pandemic. I'm happy and healthy though, so gainfully employed. So couldn't ask for more. Gonna talk about getting booted off of a fan-made version of Survivor, so
we've all been there.
Yeah.
I think that's the best part about this core audience of live reality games. I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's just like never lost. So we are here today to talk about Survivor New York 3, Blood versus Water, the very first episode, which is titled, what is it? Life Isn't Fair? I forgot what Chris picked.
That's not how life is.
It's not how life is, which is one of my favorite moments of editing this was finding these two confessionals of Sandy being like, "We're winning, this rules," and then Susan being like, I just want what's best for my daughter. Back to back. It kills me every time. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, Chris, when you had planned the season and you planned it with Dan Dudamama, what were you thinking you were going to get out of Blood versus Water?
So originally the idea was like, okay, we need to get as many people possibly to apply to this because we need to have a very wide range of people. So Dan brought up this idea, well, what if we tell them it's Blood versus Water, they all apply in these pairs, and then we end up actually just choosing 18 or 20 people that we all just love. And it makes more sense. Like we have more options to choose from. But then I said, Dan, like there's a lot of really great pairs here. Like, I mean, I just love the chemistry between every single pair. And I was like, this is gonna work. Like, let's just do Blood versus Water. Like, screw it. Like, what other live reality game besides I think like Pirate Booty Camp did Blood versus Water? So that's what went into it, and I never regretted it after that. Interesting fact was that we did have one group pulled out, and then one came in like the last possible minute, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
The devil, it's Louie who says, Queen Serena, so bummed we didn't get to play together. But yes, Louie and Mark, who are one of our pairs on this season, literally showed up like we told them like hours before, and they showed up.
Whoa.
I think they said that they were going to come regardless as to be a part of production, which I was super excited because they both, were fans of the game and they just wanted to like help out. And then I was like, no, we need you to jump in there. And they jumped in quick and I was very happy.
Absolutely. And so, Serena, we were talking right before this. You found us through Reddit, which I absolutely love, because I remember Dan was putting in the effort to be very active on Reddit. And I was like, I hope this works out, but no fucking way are the jaded people of the internet going to be like, yeah, let me play Survivor New York. But they proved me wrong, and you and Sanchaya joined us. So talk to me for a little bit about like why you wanted to do this and why Sanchaya was the person you wanted to play with.
Yeah, so I wanted to do this because I had always been a fan of Survivor. I've been a fan, I think, since middle school, so it's been a while. But like me personally, I know I would never make it on actual Survivor with like the actual surviving elements, which was what, the initial premise, I guess, was, and then it evolved into, what it's involved into. So I thought this would sort of be a good mixture in the sense that like it's not too like survival elementy, but you get the core like strategizing of it. And I thought, fuck it, why not? I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I'm assuming I am because it's the internet.
You are definitely allowed to curse.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was like, why not? It was summer during college. I didn't have anything else to do. I was like, why not? And then in terms of arriving at Sanchaya, fun fact, I think she knows this. I hope she knows this at least. I actually approached my dad first because my dad's also a fan of the show.
Wow.
But my dad is like very stubborn, and he was very much like, listen, if I'm going to actually do Survivor, I want to do the actual show. And I was like, okay, Dad, sure. But she was also a fan, so then I approached her about it. And then I knew she would be down for it because she is the type of person to like, when we were, close during high school, we would always like do, she was the person you would go to and she's like, yeah, I'm down for whatever. So yeah.
That is great. And Alex, what did you think of the pair of Serena and Sanchaya? We're going to also go through while we're doing this every single pair that's in the game, but hey, starting off, Serena and Sanchaya, what'd you think? Especially as a former player coming in.
I mean, it's a good pair. I mean, it's tough. With a season of loved ones, it's always more complicated. Yeah, I'm sort of happy that I wasn't playing this season because the strategy is just completely different. I think they're both good players. I feel like it would obviously be different if they were both separately playing on, individual seasons without a loved one. I think the thing that really hurt was that opening challenge. I mean, we're not talking about that yet, are we? But that opening challenge, that was really going to mess up anyone who got picked. Like, it was sort of designed for that.
Yeah.
So, like,
who designed that challenge, by the way? I don't want to, like, I'm not going to go after you, but, like.
Chris, was that you?
Of course it was me. I wanted there to be like that element of Blood versus Water 2 where you face off against your loved one in like a reward. But I didn't want it to like last every episode because it would be a lot of time on our hands. So I was like, let's start it out with one challenge and like let's them like have them face off like right off the bat. And it sucks that you got picked for that. Like I think about it all the time.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know, because like I watched the episode, but I like skipped over all my parts just because like I don't want to see or hear myself.
It's relatable.
Like after this podcast, I'm not gonna listen to this ever again. Just because I don't. I just don't want to listen to the sound of my own voice. But I like very clearly remember being like, shit. Like when I like opened my hand, I was like, fuck. Yeah. I did not have a poker face at all. So I don't know if you included that.
Yes,
or not.
you open your hand and you just start laughing your ass up and you go shit. And that was the moment where I was like, I know that I really like this girl because that is exactly how I would respond. And I was like, this is the funniest possible response.
Because you said, "Oh shit."
Yeah. And that's kind of the moment that's in the thumbnail. And I think it, like, the look on Sarah's face is so funny. It just sent me every time I watched it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
So let's break before we get to the beach, because we're about to get to the beach. Let's talk about all these pairs. So first off, we have Eddie and Anessa, who are a brother and sister. They are 10 years apart. Eddie was on your tribe, and I think we tried very hard to balance. When I do you remember, Chris, like the math of trying to figure out where to put everybody on each tribe? Because
literally the tribes were like a hot mess. Like even that night, I remember all of us sitting in the living room and like saying, "Okay, let's move this person here, let's move them there." And I think the biggest conversation happened, which was, okay, there's 4 older people. Everyone else is in their 20s or maybe like early 30s. The other 4 people are in their 50s or older. So let's do something fair and let's put 3 of them on the same tribe, because then one of them or 2 of them will have a good shot of getting to the merge. That's what we had assumed. And then the one person that was left alone, which is Pete, he may be screwed over, but we thought, well, Pete's the only one of these 20 people who have played a live reality game before, so maybe he has an advantage. So we really did think about every single aspect about who was going to be in what tribe. And this just boiled down to what we thought was like the perfect like mix.
Right. And Alex, you know Anessa. What did you think about, like, because we know Anessa from real life, but I didn't know Anessa had a brother, let alone like a very talented athletic brother. Like, what did you think when you saw that Anessa was going to play this game?
I was very excited to see Anessa. I know she's very competitive, very strategic, and it was fun watching her this first episode. You know, you can see her mind working. I was a little confused in this one confessional where she mentioned that she wants to be like the 5th wheel. I was like, wait, that's your goal, is to be the 5th wheel? Or I thought that was a little questionable, but I like to see that she's making relationships. She seems to like a lot of people on her tribe, and so I did. You know, it's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Get ready for more Anessa in the next episode. There's a great challenge moment we cannot talk about yet. So then we also have Sam and Pete. Now, Pete is a icon in the live reality game community. Pete from Surviving Reelfoot. What a get. And his best friend, Sam, who they both worked in a school district together. I love this. This might be the most competitive pair out of everybody. Chris, what do you think?
I definitely say so, because they told me the story about how they sat together on the couch the very first episode of Survivor, and every single week since the very first episode, first season, they've sat on that couch every week watching, and they talked about like how they each would do, and there's been this competitive blood of who is better, and that was like one of the compelling components of casting them, was like seeing them be a rivalry in a way, but at the same time being like a beautiful friendship. So I really love these 2. I got to play in a Survivor game with Pete. He's a great guy, and you know, I had learned some things through Stan. I mean, you guys may know Stan because he was there for the production side for season 3. He had told
Stan was there, so you might know him.
Yeah, yeah, I would hope so. But he had told me like some sort of personality traits that Sam has that maybe I wouldn't agree with, but I think that he kind of proved me wrong.
Yes.
And like I would say, I enjoyed every minute that I had with Sam. I enjoyed it. I'll leave it at that.
Serena, what did you think of Pete? Like, because I can imagine not meet. I don't know. There's this part of me that's like, imagine you meet this guy who's like 6 years old, and he's like, I love playing Survivor games, and I have a bad knee, and you're like, who is this person? Who is this man?
So, oh my God, it's so funny because I'm a Survivor fan, but like I think my familiarity with like live orgs prior to this, like I didn't really have any familiarity whatsoever. Like, so I didn't really watch, I didn't really participate. But like when we were all like, this was before the game started, and we were all like, you know,
yes,
in the house, just, you know, kind of mingling. And like when he mentioned like, oh, like I've done this a couple times before, I immediately like picked up on that, and I was like, okay, like I have to like be careful of him, because even though he's like, you know, an older man, you know, an older castmate, like he's done this before several times. And so that was sort of something that I was aware of. It's not like I thought he was like a threat, but like that was just something that I had definitely, I think, in the back of my mind when he mentioned that. Yeah.
Pete is incredible. I just such a character, and he talks a lot about how he almost made it on Survivor, which I think is one of the most devastating things, is that we did not get Pete on Survivor, and I hope maybe we do, but not like that's happening anytime soon. So next pair we have is Hung and Hoy. And Serena, am I correct? Did you guys share a tent? So we have
did.
what the way Survivor New York works is we have a day 0 where we let everybody sort of camp out and get to know each other. So you kind of get to know everybody outside of being on tribes. And so we had everybody sort of sleeping tents, and you guys shared a tent, if I'm not mistaken.
We did share a tent. I'm not sure. I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't want to like accidentally give something away, but
Right.
I think because we shared a tent is sort of again why, like, you know, I
Yes.
felt like I was, you know, okay with Hong on my tribe, and why I thought, you know, I was with her, and she was with me because she voted for Caleb, but you know, not enough people were with me.
Well, I just
so
want to.
yeah,
I want to. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I to interrupt, but I just wanted to touch about like a little bit about that. Like, I wanted the tent situation to be fair. There was 3 tents that night. The first tent was Yu Hong, Hoy, and Senchea. The second tent was Pete, Sam, Emily, and Susan, and I forgot the other one that was in there, but pretty much
was like
the
a mega
third one
tent.
was everybody. And I remember going into the mega tent and saying, like, guys, I need a volunteer right now to get out of this tent. And I think Emily and Susan volunteered, but nobody else would volunteer. And we kept pushing it, and then I finally was like, you know what? Whatever. I don't think it will affect the game so much. And I hope it didn't affect your game. So if I apologize if it did, but I don't think it did.
Yeah, I don't know if it did. I don't know if it didn't. I mean, whenever there's like a live org situation, I feel like there's going to be pre-gaming involved in some sort of way. Although with this one, I feel like there was less people who like were already involved, so I think that sort of helped a bit.
Yeah,
but
outside of the pair, I don't think anybody, and I think this is a real testament to how Dan works, is they pressed really hard to make sure that nobody knew each other. And so I think that's like a really great aspect of it. Hung and Hoy are 2 siblings, also like they're 2 years apart. There we go. I'm like looking at my graphics while I have this up. And they are like, they have 8 other siblings. They are incredibly smart, world-traveled people. And actually what I love about this pair is that Hoy was supposed to play with his boyfriend, and then they broke up. So then Hung like really just, we almost couldn't use Hoy because he had no partner, and Hung really stepped up and took the leap and sort of joined us, which I love that about her. She just like is not afraid to go anywhere and try anything.
And she beat him in the immunity challenge, I think.
That's right. She gets the point over him.
Yeah. I have to say, like, getting Hoy to apply, I thought was like a huge deal because, you know, he's a Harvard graduate. Like, to me, like that seems like an impressive feat to have a Harvard graduate apply for my Survivor game. Like, okay, like what other Survivor game can say that they're a Harvard graduate?
I think Survivor New York's goal should be to get a Vassar graduate next. Real hometown hero.
I know, seriously. Where are they at, though?
So
you know what? I did have one. Sorry, I did have one from season 1. Alex knows Danny Gilbert, right? I think he went to Vassar.
Okay. There we go. All right, great. Check that off the list. Up next, we have Gary and Charles, who are best friends. They live in Brooklyn, New York, and these 2 are just like, I like when I look at both of them, I'm like, I don't know how 2 people can be more friendly. And I've never seen 2 like nicer people in my life. They're just so full of like, I want to get to know you, and you're like, oh my god, they want to get to know me. So Alex, I know Charles is a little silent in this episode. Charles is a bit of a quiet person. What do you think of Charles? Because you got to sort of work. Alex was the Yellow Tribe handler. So yes.
And I love the Yellow Tribe.
I still have your crumpled up folder because I made folders for everybody, but they were paper and they got wet. So next year I used plastic, but I handed Alex a folder and then he handed it back to me like completely unopened, just folded over on itself.
I don't remember that. Uh, but yeah, the Yellow Trap. Love the Yellow Trap. Love Charles. He's a big fan of the show. He's very smart. I think in this episode we didn't see a lot of him, but I think we saw him talking to the right people, making the right relationships. Yeah, I think Charles knows what he's doing.
Yes, I would concur. And then we also have Emily and Susan. Now, Susan doesn't, I don't know if she talks about this maybe later on, but Susan is a breast cancer survivor. She is this woman who like runs like 8 miles a day. She's incredible. And I remember Dan was telling me about her, and I just thought this is like one of the most inspiring people I've ever heard of. And Emily, her daughter, is a yoga instructor. She is so cool. I don't know why she talks to me. She's so cool. And it was really like this pair they really came out to play the game to get to bond with each other, which I think is something that is really impressive. Like they really played the game to like get closer together, which I love. I think a lot of people came here for the competition with their friends over familial bonding.
Yeah.
And also, Emily is one of the people who votes with you. Spoiler alert, Serena. So,
oh no, I watched some of the episode. I watched the episode where I wasn't speaking.
For anybody, maybe, I don't know. You should have watched. So what did you think seeing Emily vote with you and being one of the Caleb votes?
Yeah, I mean, I knew like Hong like sort of voted with me, and I think after, because I hung out a little bit afterwards, so I sort of knew what the votes were and how they fell, at least the ones who voted with me. And so I don't know, it was super interesting because I thought Emily and Susan, they were both like sweethearts, but like from a personal perspective, I wouldn't necessarily like, I'm trying to phrase this in like the nicest way possible. It's like I'm not like a big like yogi, like hippie dippy sort of like person, but I think like both of them were sweethearts, and obviously shout out to Emily for voting with me. And I feel like, you know, if it had gone into my favor, I think, you know, possibly I would have warmed up to her more, but I don't think she was initially on my radar as like, oh, like, yes, I totally click with her. Like right off the bat, if we're going by like first impressions, but they're both total sweethearts. Yeah.
Yeah. And up next we have childhood best friends. We have Sarah and Josh. These two are just like so nice. They're both from Long Island, if I remember correctly. And they're just like, I don't know how to describe it other than like when they say they're best friends, like they really mean it. They are so close. And Josh is actually the bigger fan. And so he's kind of bringing Sarah along. And so I think their relationship is super fun. We're going to see a little bit more of them in the future. But like they're a really fun pair. And Sarah is hilarious in this episode. Sarah, I think, has the most panicked face throughout episode 1. She always is just like so scared of everything that's happening. And so we also have Mark and Louie, who, as we said, were our like last minute pair. They joined us. They are best friends. They met on Tinder talking about Survivor, and I love that about them.
Yeah, amazing.
And so, Serena, you had mentioned to us, Mark votes for Emily in this. Let's just go with it. Mark votes for Emily. Do you have any theories why this might have happened?
I don't know. I think there was like maybe like one confession of Mark that like where he sort of talks about it like prior to his vote, where I think he might see Emily as a threat. I can't remember if I'm remembering correctly, but like it wasn't super like clear. So yeah, when I saw that, I was just like, okay, I guess. Sure, why not?
Yeah, Chris. Do you remember why he does this exactly?
His reason was that he was throwing this hinky vote to sort of go up to Emily afterward and be like, "Hey, I know somebody voted for you, but don't worry, I have your back," to try and bring her in closer, and they have like an alliance with each other. And yeah, I think I can't really spoil much after that, but
I think when he voted, he says it in his voting confessional.
Okay.
Trying to get closer to her, which, you know, I mean, that's one strategy. It's a weird strategy. We'll see if it works. You know, I feel like generally, if you want to get close to someone, you don't necessarily have to vote for them. You could just maybe talk to them a little more. Maybe
like,
do that. you know. But
Yeah.
I guess he was trying to also cause a little, paranoia, a little mischief. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's kind of funny. I don't know how many hinky votes I've ever seen cast in a live reality game, let alone in the very first round. So I thought it was a really fun sort of like mix up. And I do think you can see in the episode, Emily just goes like white as a ghost when she sees her name come up,
Yeah.
and she is freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I think it did its job.
And
It
it's
was a
funny
great
because
vote
Alex.
order, Chris. Great vote order.
I was just gonna say because Alex said, "Oh, we should put that vote first and scare the shit out of her, and then we'll go all the rest of the votes that way."
Yes, I should give
oh my
Alex
God.
credit. Alex has been the vote orderer for the past
The
two
last
seasons.
I would like to say it's a collaboration with Chris.
Yeah, it's a collab. But
Yes.
I wish I could have ordered some of the votes in my seasons.
Yeah, I would say I give him like mostly of the control. I'll give him like 60 to 70% of the control all the time for the vote order because usually he's right. Like he gets some good suspenses with his order.
Yeah, I'm trying to mess with the contestants and the audience.
there's a great I have a great blooper from season 4 that I'm just holding on to until this person gets voted out. I have to wait for it to hold on to, but it's Alex showing his vote order.
I want to hear that.
I'll send it to the group.
Okay.
So up next we have Caleb and Sandy, who are a mother and son pair from good old New Orleans. And they sort of said, you know what, if we get voted out, we're going to go see the city. But right now they're still in the game. So Serena, you voted for Caleb this episode. And I do think that was the correct move for you, is to, target Caleb. What did you think getting to spend time with Caleb, who is no fault of his own, a very nice person as well? Like, great guy.
Yeah. I remember I was talking to him again, like this was like day 0, like in the house. And like, I think there's like a bunch of other probably Survivor fans who are also the fans of the challenge, but he was like the only one who like actually like shared that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I also like the challenge. And so we sort of bonded over that, but obviously we were in different tents, so we didn't really talk, after that. And then even though I got like good vibes from day 0, once sort of the way the challenges panned out and once we, were talking, I was like, oh, Caleb's the only other name that I'm hearing consistently or from other people at least. And so I'm just going to go for Caleb, try and campaign against Caleb, even though, again, he's a nice guy. But I think for that first vote out, I think it was down to like challenges. And so he was sort of perceived as the other weak challenge link, rightfully or not so rightfully.
Yeah, Caleb, he lost to his mom in the immunity challenge.
Yeah, he lost to his mom. And we have Pete. Hi, Pete.
Hello, Pete.
He just said that Survivor New York was brought up in an interview I was in today by someone watching last week. I was proud. Pete, we are proud of you. Just because we love you so much.
Pete.
Yeah, I miss you.
And so finally, our last pair are Katie and Avanti, who were also friends in college. They also knew Dan, and Dan brought them in. They're like very big sort of like campus tour guides, and they just have such like bright, sunny personalities. And so they're sort of a great first-time addition, so first-time players, not huge fans. And I think they really sort of, we see a lot of Katie. Katie has this great like leader quality where she just kind of takes charge and you're like, all right, I'm going wherever Katie's going. And that's what I kind of love to see, that it really comes out in the episode. So I'm really excited about this. And also, Pete just tells everyone he misses them. And we miss you too, Pete.
Yes, we do.
It's great. I think what the best part of the season finally airing is getting to see everybody again and getting to like remember how much fun this was. So I'd love to see it. And so moving on, we have the beach puzzle. This puzzle is hard, Chris. Like, this hexagon puzzle is a nightmare. And I think, Serena, like, you should not at all feel bad about losing this, because it really was just about like the luck of where you put the pieces.
Yeah.
100%.
I still have the puzzle somewhere.
Oh, we used that puzzle. That puzzle.
It comes up in later seasons.
If anybody is going to go so hard as to screen grab that puzzle and practice it, go nuts. We'll cast you. No. So
Yeah.
when this was happening and you heard what the advantage was, because Chris, do you want to break down why you picked this sort of idea of, advantage for your tribe versus individual?
I mean, honestly, it was just I like the idea of having a tribe get a reward, and I don't really see it so much on live reality games where they introduce rewards or duels or some sort of aspect. It's usually just straight up immunity most of the time. So I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have them face off, and then they have to make this choice, because obviously if they face off, there has to be a winner, and then that person has to make a big decision in the game right from the beginning. And I thought, well, either they're going to make a really shocking decision by giving immunity, or they're going to play like the long-term game and give it to the tribe. And there was definitely some players I think that would have picked the second option. But I knew
Who do you think?
most. I feel like possibly Sam or Pete may have chosen the immunity aspect.
I think Sam would have chosen it. I don't know if Pete. I think Pete's
Yeah.
too smart for that.
I'd be
I
surprised
think
at anyone choosing
maybe.
it, but I would be very
I
interested.
don't know. There's a few
I
other people that are like not huge fans. Like we said, like Katie and Vontae, maybe they would have said like, okay, hey, let's give each other safety. Honestly, in Serena and Sanchea's situation, I thought Sanchea would go one way and Serena maybe would have picked immunity, but I would have never. I never knew what she would have really chosen. So I'm curious, like Serena, if you really were thinking in that moment, like what would you have chosen?
I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same thing.
Okay.
I would have given 100% the team an advantage. Yeah.
Right. Because then if you lose like the point, because we find out later it's a point, you essentially get an extra point in the immunity challenge. Like if you lose your point, it's like, hey, no, I made up my point by winning that challenge earlier.
Exactly.
I think it's a no-brainer, but here's what I think the move is. Okay, I think the move is to take the advantage for your tribe, but then what you should do then in the immunity challenge is you should maybe lose it to your partner, the point, because I think what Sanchea did by winning the advantage and then beating you in the immunity challenge for the point is she really put you in a terrible position, because now everyone's like, you lost twice.
Yeah.
You should have thrown the immunity challenge to you, because then
my mind is blown.
Blame you for both. It's like, she lost that, but she won here. And even by throwing that, if her tribe does lose immunity there, they're not going to blame her for losing the point.
Right.
Yeah.
She gave them the advantage. So that was the way to keep you both safe.
And Pete agrees. Good point, Alex. Pete, let us know what you would have done. But I also think the two people that might have been able to pull off getting individual immunity are Caleb or Emily, and say, listen, I need to give it to my mom. I'm worried my mom's going to get voted out. I want my mom to have a nice time. I want her to be here. And I think any pair with, if you're the partner who cares more about Survivor, maybe you can pull this off and say, I just want them to have a good time and I want to be around with them. Maybe, but I think people will call you on bullshit a little bit. But
That's true.
It's fun.
That's a good point.
Yes, Pete says he would have taken the tribe advantage. And then we also have a comment from Darren from season 2. Hi, Darren. How are you?
Darren
is happy to see the start of season 3 finally. So are we. So we start off. Now it's time to be in tribes. Serena, is there anybody you were particularly like clicking with that, we know that you and Hung were really sort of clicking. Is there anybody else before the challenge starts that you thought you were getting along with pretty well?
Aside from Hung, I mean, it's been a while. It's been like 2 years. And I was, because I think like when it comes to like day 0, like you definitely, like there's time where you can talk to people and so on, but it's not a lot of time. And a lot of the times it was just like trying to meet as many people as possible and not necessarily, clicking with everybody like right off the bat. I think in terms of like going into the vote of like who like I thought would vote for me, or like, if everything worked out well, like X, Y, and Z, I thought like the girls were going to vote for me. And then like if someone else could also vote with me as well, then great. But like I don't think, aside from maybe Hung, there was like a solid person that I felt comfortable with. And maybe again that's my downfall is I didn't try harder to connect with people. But I think it's also hard because it's like the first round, and obviously the first round moves a lot faster in Survivor New York versus then actual Survivor. So there's that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think every round in Survivor New York
Is like, yeah.
Alex, what other relationships did you see sort of forming on this tribe in the sort of very early beginnings of everything going on?
Yeah. Well, the one big thing I guess we haven't talked about yet is Sarah, I guess, gravitating more towards the men of her tribe. She gave a confession about that. I also think that may have been a big thing, I guess, in Caleb staying and you going.
Yeah.
Was Sarah
Yeah.
just naturally bonding more with the men.
I would say
Yeah.
Katie does the same. Katie really sort
Yeah.
of
Right.
gets in lockstep with the boys.
Mhm.
And I think it's just one of those shitty situations where it happens a lot in LRGs where you go, okay, we lost the challenge. Like it eventually becomes, so who's our weakest link? Well, we have all these boys and they're all pretty tall and they're all, like fit. Like we have these guys who could potentially help us in other challenges. So I guess we should just get rid of one of the girls. And then it becomes sort of like a girls sort of scrambling to keep their head above water. And you are not the first person this has ever happened to. And I think it is only compounded by Santea not throwing the points. As we said, it's all her fault.
No,
my
I feel
God.
like she's also she has a competitive streak as well. So
Yeah.
I don't think she would ever throw it.
So we have our challenge. Serena, what did you think about playing this challenge? Like, it's a tricky one, and it was very wet that day.
Yeah. Oh my God. Not gonna lie, like when we were playing that, even though like it was sort of like a a modified version of like an actual Survivor challenge, when like you were explaining the rules, I think we all like got it. But then when the rounds actually started, I feel like there was like some confusion. I remember for me, I think I lost because when I flipped mine, it flipped like too far and then like flipped onto like the wrong side again or whatever. And so it was just like super slippery, just running around triangles. It was fun, but I definitely think that like in some of the rounds, not just mine, I'm sure there were some either like upsets or what have you where just the
Right.
nature of
We had to have Pete and Sam go again. I don't remember why. I think it was like a bad call, and we just had them do the round over. But this game was very tricky, and I think next time if we ever do it, we got to paint those X's much bigger. Those
Yeah.
were very colored.
It should be the whole side probably colored, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can make that happen.
Well, the thing is too, like I didn't know where we would do this challenge initially, and so you can see that there's a camera like above me, and you don't really see me calling the challenge like my face. So Stan is standing on a table behind me, and a few other people. I think Dan was there, literally like calling the challenge and making the decision. So I'm literally just listening to him tell me like who got it, because like I couldn't see from my point of view. Like he had to see it from that high up or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that challenge is really, you can hear Stan yelling a lot in this challenge. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I couldn't edit it out.
I tried so hard. It's fine. And I think what is tricky about this challenge also is that a lot of the time, because what you have to do is you start with, it starts with both sides up, right? Or is it both sides down? One of those options. And so the first one you go to, you're just flipping over yours. But then the next one you go to, you're trying to
do
flip
both.
yours over to the right side while you flip your opponent's to the wrong side. And so if you forget to do that, which I think happened to a lot of our players, you leave your opponent's X up, and then if they gain on you, it can be really tricky. So I think that really threw a lot of people off. It's a tough challenge, and it's really fun. And like, this is a challenge taken from Survivor Philippines called Snare the Drum. And yes, you can see the X's or the squares that they're in go away very quickly because it was just too rainy and they would not stay on the ground.
Also, the tape disappeared around it because we stopped using the tape.
Pete had to say that Pete won and Sam cried. Pete did beat Sam twice. We ran the point. Pete won. There was it was being contested, so we ran the point again, and Pete beat him again. Which is very funny. So the best part about this challenge, I think, is we see so many upsets. We see, Susan beat Emily for the point and beat her yoga daughter. But Susan's running Susan's running like hell. And we see Caleb lose to his mom, as he points out. he flips it over and then it hits his calf and then flips back over. So he like loses time on this.
Yeah.
This challenge is very tricky, and I kind of hope we do it again another time, maybe in a modified way. But it's really fun because I think we saw a lot of great upsets.
The challenge is great, yeah, because it's like the faster you do it, the more likely you are to make a mistake. So it's about speed and precision, and you're trying to find like the balance. You want to do it fast enough, but not too fast that you make a mistake and then lose the whole thing. And some people got maybe overconfident and they were just focusing on speed.
Yes, and then we have the great Anessa fall, which is hilarious. Where she just like she looks like I don't really know how to describe it. Like Anessa basically looks like she's never walked in her life before, and like
oh my god,
that's funny. But she tries.
So
that's
funny.
what I love is that everybody tries their hardest. You don't really see anybody sort of giving up on the point, and like that's. It was at this moment where I was like, oh, we have a competition going on. This is not going to be like a walk in the park for anybody. So I love this challenge. I'm so glad it worked out. And so then obviously the Yellow Tribe loses and life sucks. And I felt really bad. I was like, oh no, like
they lost by 1 point.
1 point.
That's the advantage.
Oh my gosh, I know. Absolutely like heartbreaker. And we see everybody sort of strategize. So the way this works is we let everybody strategize for like 15 to 30 minutes. Every time is different, so I don't really know. And then we bring everybody over to the house, and then we have tribal council. So there was a little bit of there's a lot going on here, and we see Serena talking to a lot of the girls, and we see Pete starting to sort of build his like army, I would say, which is Charles, Eddie, Mark, and then they sort of disperse and try and bring more people in. Did you, Serena, see Pete as sort of a ringleader in this tribe? Because that was my impression watching this first strategy session.
I'm trying to remember because it's been 2 years, but I feel like when it came to the first strategy session, we were all kind of like, because it was the first round and most of us haven't done this before. We were like, so how is this going to work? Are we just going to walk off or whatever? And then we just started walking off. But I mean, again, I knew sort of in the back of my mind that Pete had played this before. I didn't necessarily have him as pegged as like the ringleader like right away. But like, again, he's experienced. And in terms of, I guess, when it comes to strategy and when it comes to like diving into that aspect, I think that probably helped him a lot in the sense that I think he got to it a lot quicker than the rest of us who knew we had to strategize, but we're kind of like, okay, I guess we're strategizing now. Whereas he like clearly like had no qualms about just like going for it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the one person in like the double eviction who's trying really hard compared to everyone else.
Yeah, because I think also like when it comes to the first round, reflects badly upon you, whatever, you want to seem like a nice person. So there was also a little bit of, that tentativeness sort of going on as well.
Yeah, I think we see it a lot. And maybe Alex, you can also talk about like these moments where you have to throw a name out there, especially in Survivor New York. We see like all of the girls look terrified and they're just like, what do we do? Like, again, another great example of like classic Sarah and Emily, like panic face. And I love them so much. And so they point out that Pete is playing really hard, but they don't really know what else to do. They like Charles, they like Mark. So I think it really came down to someone like Pete getting a name out there early and people just sort of jumping on that train or jumping on the Caleb train. Yeah. So Alex, what did you think? What do you think the trick is to having sort of a successful first round?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's always different based on the situation, but I feel like what happens most of the time and what happened here is the easiest thing to do is to say like, hey, how do we keep the tribe strong? And by saying that, you're not necessarily throwing out a name. You're like, how do we keep this tribe strong? Who did worse in the challenge? And then like the other person is maybe naming like the people that didn't do as well in the challenge. And then sort of they're naming names by not naming names. They're just naming who did bad in the challenge. And then sort of you can come to a consensus without ever saying like, we should target this person. You sort of get to it indirectly. Who did bad in the challenge? These people. Who who do we think did the worst of these people? This person. Should we vote out this person? Well, we said we should keep the tribe strong, so I guess we should vote out this person, even though we don't want to. Like, I think that's the way a lot of these go. And I think, yeah, the problem was losing the advantage and the point in the challenge.
Yeah.
Probably like there are two things to point to there, and I think that was the problem.
Yeah, and I think if as we've seen proven strategy in Survivor New York, just look at their footwear and then vote them out based on that. We've seen that work before.
That was season 2.
Oh my God.
It can always work. And so
funny.
Darren has a question, which, listen, Darren, we're getting to it. Did you take the school bus to a lake? Yes, we did. God bless that school bus. Love that bus.
But let me just say, that is literally like 2-3 minute drive down from my house. So I was like, this is beautiful Plum Point, overlooking the Hudson River of New York. You can see Bannerman's Island, which is a famous island that has a ruined castle on it that burned down in the 1920s. So, I mean, it felt like it was a very iconic sort of place that's so close to me, like to kind of like expand Survivor New York. And also, you know, I don't know if people know this, but I built like a custom tribal council in my backyard, and I wanted to use it and implicate it in the season. So I had the best of both worlds, where I rented a school bus, and I just kind of transported people back and forth. And it
was great. It felt like we were at summer camp.
It did. It totally did.
Like a weird summer camp where you vote people off.
But you know, it was like the real show, because on the real show they get on like a van, and they're like on ice, like they can't talk on the van, they can't talk about strategy, and once they're off the van, they wait, and then they go into tribal council, and then they're allowed to speak, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and so I have to say, I grew up obviously in the Hudson Valley, as well as Chris. We both have our 845 area phone numbers, and so I think for us, like, what I love about Survivor New York, and Pete talked about like the lake area, the Hudson River is so beautiful, and you know, I love taking that Metro North, and so to sort of get to be there and right along the riverbanks, it's a beautiful scenery, and I love that we utilize this. And I think I was like, this is crazy. We're going to take a bus back and forth every vote out. But like, you were totally right, Chris. It rules. And those cute photos that Jessica, shout out to Jessica Frazier, our camera person, took of all the like tribes, and everybody looks beautiful. I love it so much. And I think, I don't remember if this is in the episode, but Chris, can you tell us what the tribe names mean? We have Oneida and we have Yadahala.
Yeah, so every season, like, I look up Native American words of like tribes from New York and try and like use some sort of like survivory name. So I forget exactly what Native American tribe that was based here in New York that uses the word Oneida and Yodahola, but it basically means Oneida means moon, Yodahola means sun.
Yes.
And that was the reason. And I just wanted something kind of close to New York.
I don't know if there's the confessional in this episode or next one, but Charles says, we're going to show the Moon Tribe what's up. And that's what he's referring to, which I love so much. So, Serena, when you sort of get really embedded in the strategy, like, is your Survivor fan brain being like, what can I do? You know, it's so tricky. And I think anybody who plays for their first time just doesn't, it's a lot to do especially for a fan. So how is your fan brain kind of handling everything that was going on?
Well, I like immediately knew, like, going into strategizing, I was like, oh, I'm on the chopping block 100%. If I'm not number one, I'm number two, but I'm probably number one. And so I guess, again, from that, it was just trying to find whoever the number two candidate was, and, you know, trying to gather as many people to vote for the number two person. But I don't think there was, at least from my perspective, like, I had a very strong feeling that I was most likely to get voted out first. And from that perspective, like, I did as much as I could do, but I felt like, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I did what I could. And, you know, that's all I really could have done. I mean, maybe I could have campaigned harder, but like I said, like, I think, you know, for my personality, for my style of play, like, I didn't want to campaign too hard and like be too out there, you know, right off the bat. But yeah,
I think you did a good job.
I think so
hard
too.
with these live games, there's also not as much time, so it's like if you had to overcome a lot in a little time, it's possible if you had more time, but it was just tough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we sort of talked about this. I have been a first voted out before, and I had a lot more time than you did. And I never knew it was me until I got to tribal council. Like, I had no idea. So I think it takes a real sort of ability to self-assess and a good sense of perception to say, I think it might be me. And here's what I'm going to try and do to rectify that. Like, that is the sign of someone who really knows what's going on. Meanwhile, I was just a dumbass and I had no idea. So I think you really deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, but did you lose 2 challenges in a row?
Oh, my tribe did. We had a rewarded an immunity and we lost.
Okay, but it's not all down to you though, right?
No,
yeah, we've already established that puzzle was just, anyone could win or lose that.
Yeah, it's funny because I think if I'm curious what you guys would say, but if I'm playing this season and somebody loses a puzzle, I don't think that's a weakness. Like, you got stuck. It's not like you volunteered to do the puzzle. You got stuck doing a puzzle. Yeah. And that's just like not fair.
Yeah.
Also, I love this comment from Pete who says, Alex would not let us say a word on the bus. He was tough.
I'm a great driver.
That's awesome.
I never really thought Alex was the tough one. I always thought me and Dan were the tough
ones.
But
it's not just tough. It's tough love. Okay? Yeah. I told them how much I cared about them, that I was proud of them. Honestly, I made them not talk, and I just talked the whole time.
Yes, you did.
People were talking. You keep talking to them.
That's great.
As long as you're talking at them, they can't say anything back.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have tribal council, and first of all, I have to say a really testament to how great Chris is. This whole tribal council, every single question that was asked is in this tribal council because Chris asks every single person a question, and everybody gives a great answer. And, it's going to get tribal council is so fun because sometimes you'll just hear a train go by and you're like, well, this is not an island.
My God. It's the worst. It's the worst. I hate it.
But I just have to say, Chris, like, such a great job during tribal council. You're always able to hit everybody and get a question hit them with a question. So it was really fun to sort of be like, oh, I can use every piece of this tribal council and everyone had a great answer too. So kudos to the Yellow Tribe for being entertaining.
Yeah, everybody was great, definitely.
I love Caleb's line. He said he hadn't heard about any alliance. He was in an alliance.
I really wanted to get him on the spot and be like slip up and be like, yeah, I'm in an alliance, and then everyone's like, oh, okay.
The funny thing is, I don't think Caleb was in an alliance. I've watching the footage back, I think
he wasn't lying.
Yes, Caleb is left out of Pete sort of brings him in, but Caleb is not necessarily in the core alliance that Pete has formed. He's much more on the tangential. And so I thought this was hilarious that he was like, no, I'm not in an alliance. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Very Caleb, the way he says it too, it's so funny.
He said, if I'm in an alliance and I don't know it, then I'm playing the best game ever. He wasn't an alliance, but people had said, I guess, in confessionals that they wanted to work with him. But I guess no one approached him about it, or we didn't see that.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we maybe don't see, and we'll see it a little bit, but Emily really likes you, Serena, and she feels very bad about voting you out, which is part of why she doesn't vote for you. And I thought that was really interesting that she was really playing with her heart. And we'll see how that works out for her. But I thought that was a really sort of bold move to be like, I'm going to play with my heart. I'm not going to vote with what I think the majority is going to vote with. And
I made her even more nervous when she saw her name. She's like, I vote myself out.
Oh my God, Mark, such a little jerk. And I don't know why I didn't remember the first Emily vote. Or I think, Chris, you remember this? We didn't know. I didn't know, and I think some of the crew didn't know, where did that Emily vote come from? And I remember asking people in confessionals after this, being like, did you vote for Emily? And everyone was like, no. And I got to Mark, and I was like, there's no way Mark voted for Emily. And then he says,
yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I was so confused. I honestly, a lot for this season, I had no idea who was going home. until like the voting started. Like I really kind of kept myself out of the loop until I needed to like get into the loop because I was out there like doing the challenges, getting everything prepped and ready, everything. And I just had to rely a lot on Alex and you and Dan and a few other people to be like, what is going on? Who has an advantage? And I had to really quickly rely on you guys. And honestly, everything worked out amazingly because of the flow of communication. So thank you again for that.
Oh, well, shout out to the challenge team, which is Ben and Chantal. Shout out to our season 2 like alumni icons, Ben and Chantal, because they really worked their butt offs as well. And I think like
Ben is in the other room right now, but he doesn't want to come in here. I told him he'd be perfect for this chat because he was the first person voted out in season 1, so he would be able to give us some insight about being a first boo, but he's too embarrassed to come in here.
Okay, we love Ben. And I think the best part about this episode is really just like how intense everybody right out the gate is playing. And I think Serena, like, part of what I really admired about you is that you always played hard. You never ever sort of backed down to say like, well, let me try and be less of a threat by not doing anything and not saying anything. You were fighting really hard, and I really admired that about you. And so this whole tribal council is so tough. It is it's excruciating to watch in person. I don't know if anybody else feels this way. It is excruciating to watch because you're just like, I love them all so much. I don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt.
Yeah.
Someone's feelings are about to get hurt. So, Chris, when you're watching these voting confessionals, we also get, I don't know, did we get it in the episode, the iconic Eddie, it had to be done? Have we gotten it yet?
It was in there, but I did not put it in the episode.
Just wait.
Yeah, that's definitely like going to be shown at the very like, yeah, I'll explain that later.
We'll have a highlight reel, yes. Yes, in case, Serena, you don't know, Eddie has a catchphrase, and he'll use it every time he votes somebody out.
Yeah.
Exciting. I'm excited to see it.
Don't get too excited.
But he might not even last that long, so it might only be twice.
Yeah, I just said every time he votes somebody out. I didn't say how many times he votes someone out. All right.
Yeah, exactly. But can I just touch on the last topic, which is the final words?
Oh, I was so emotional. I'm such an ugly crier.
And it really it broke my heart a little bit because I just remember seeing you like that bush I see every day, and I think, wow, I felt so bad. Like, please cry.
No. Why is that everything in your backyard? Because I do.
It's weird. Like I all the time I walk to my backyard, I'm like, okay, this is where Alex did this. This is where Mikey found the idol. This is where Serena cried after she got voted out. Seeing you cry, I mean, that was so sad for me because I was like, oh, I didn't want her to have that sort of reaction.
No,
and talk to me about why you cried.
Yeah, so that reaction was in by no means sort of as a reaction to like the tri-mates, like whatever happened. That was sort of like my own like personal reaction of like, oh, like I got voted out first, and like it's funny again when talking to my dad, who I potentially would have liked to be part of. I was talking to him about this, and he was like, "You're gonna get voted out first," and I was like, oh, okay, thanks, Dad. And then it happened, and then whenever your parents are right, you're kind of just like, oh, they were right. And so that's sort of the reaction I had. What?
Did you tell him?
Oh, yeah. Like, because, like, when I got voted off, and then in terms of sort of, like, the logistics of it all, in terms of, like, oh, like, let me drive home. Do I meet up with my parents? Because I think they were in the Hudson Valley as well, on vacation, just to time it and to see, like, do we want to meet up? Do we not want to meet up? But I had just ended up driving back home to New Jersey anyways. But yeah, that's sort of where that reaction came from. It was like, oh, man, like, I failed. My dad was right. I, like, had a feeling I was either going to get voted out very early or like go very deep. Like, I don't think I was going to be like middle of the road. So, I mean, it is what it is. And oh my God, ugly crying. It is what it is. That's forever on the internet now, which is like, ugh, but.
I'll never put that clip on Instagram. Don't worry. I wouldn't do that.
Don't clip it out. Yeah, it's fine if it's in the episode, but.
The craziest thing, Chris, I don't think you know this, is that so for a while, Jessica has a microphone connected to her camera, and actually the microphone So we had this lav mic for Chris, and so what would happen all the time is there would be no audio on Jess's camera because the lav was connected to Chris and Chris was off somewhere else, and so we would forget to switch the microphone back to the on-camera mic. Whatever. This is all production bullshit. This is to say that Serena's final words almost didn't have audio, but I was recording on my phone like the audio, so I got it. But like almost those final words did not exist, which is like, oh boy, I almost had this poor girl crying camera for no reason, which is so fucked up. I'm really glad it worked out.
You say you had her cry, like you told her to cry.
No, we were
no, it was that like
a weird creep where you're like, hey, I know you're crying, but do you want to talk to us right now?
Well, yes, again, I'm a fan, so I know final words are a thing. Yes. Like I knew that was gonna happen anyways. I was trying not to cry, but obviously you can't help crying, and it just happened, and I was like, I guess this is happening now. It is what it is.
I think it shows how much you cared about it. And
yeah.
To me, it really read as frustration, which is like, I think in a lot of situations in live reality games, sometimes it's just frustrating. The vote is not going to go the way you want it to, and there's not a lot you can do because there's not a lot of time, and things can't just flip on a dime the way that they can in Real Survivor of like, hey, I think we can actually make a better move for us. It's just so tough, and that's why we also with 20 people, because we had to get through so many votes that day, and like, I think we had somebody voted out within like the next 2 hours, so there's no time. And so I really feel for you that like there's just no time, and it's so Chris, we're done with the episode, but let's talk a little bit more just about like the joy it was to have Serena play our game. Like really,
I was so excited. Serena, so excited.
We're gonna be nice to you.
We're all like standing you hard. Like it was.
That's why I picked you number one in my draft.
I mean, I have to say to you that 2 people from 2 other live reality games after watching the first episode were like, oh my God, I love Serena. I think she's a great player. I would love to have her in my game. Can you like talk to her? And I was like, wow, of course I would. I would definitely.
Sorry. Hi, Roy. Also, and we'll get to what the hell you just said.
And then at the same time, Serena, like I've kind of, we've talked about it previously. Like I have reached out to you and said like, hey, I would definitely have you again in some capacity. Now I don't know when or where that would be, but I think your story to me is not finished. Where some other players I can say like wholeheartedly, like, okay, their story is sort of finished or has sort of like a circle, like no circle to it. Like you still like have this ability to finish your story, I think, if you wanted to.
Serena, I felt like you had a lot more game left to play. There's a lot more game in there.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I really think that like after getting to watch these games like play out in full and playing them, you see some people like have so much potential, or people get voted out first where you're like, yeah, that was obvious. And I think for you, it was just like such a shitty luck of the draw that if you ever wanted to try your hand at something else again, I think you would be perfectly set, and like you would have all the skills you need. And I think that was partially why Dan was really interested in you and Sanjay, is like you guys really had the skill set that a Survivor player needs, like the social ability, the wits, and like maybe you're not great on a camping adventure, which is why you don't want to do Real Survivor, but I think in terms of backyard Survivor, you really had what it takes. And so I hope that, I know that it must be very hard to relive this part of it, and the whole time I was like, God, I hate that we have to remind everybody that they got voted out, but like you really sort of shown in this episode, and I think as Chris had shown to a lot of people who are tuning in and don't know you and are getting to experience like getting to know you for the first time.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope you don't hate us.
No, it was a great experience. I think, like, again, a lot of it is, luck of the draw. I know Chris has reached out before. I think just timing, didn't work out, with whatever was going on in my life. But, whenever all this, bigger world stuff ends, we'll see. We'll see what. Can't make any like solid promises, but I definitely, I'm not closing the door firmly on my LRG, I guess, experience, I would say. But it was again but yeah, it was a great experience. working with everybody, Chris, like, playing double duty as host twice. Naomi with all your production stuff. Alex as the handler. I remember when I was crying and Alex was trying to like make me feel better, and I was like, I was just like, why am I crying? Let me stop crying. But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
Even though it was only one day, and I really haven't. Also, like for people who are watching, I haven't talked to any of these people literally
Yes.
like in 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it was a definitely an experience. I think, in the short term it was hard, but again, it's been a while. So now I can kind of look back on it and be like, haha.
And I think also we lucked out in having Alex as like, I feel like we luckily had Alex be the tribe handler of the first tribe that went to tribal council, because like Alex is kind of like, what is it, like Patch Adams is that Robin Williams doctor that's just like wearing a clown nose. You're like, it's like, it just, Alex will make someone feel better. It's fine. Let's send him out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what it's like to lose Survivor. Okay, I know what it's like, and I'm trying to help.
We saw, yeah. Also, Anessa had this comment, which is just to say that her co-workers have a draft of Survivor New York.
Oh my gosh.
And teams lose a point when someone on their draft cries.
Now I'm not sure if I'll.
All right, yeah, everybody's tagged off in the
hilarious.
That your final words.
I think it should be the whole episode. I think final words do count. If she's asking what we think, I would say that counts.
Yes.
That is
So,
hilarious.
episode 2 is really exciting. I can't wait for everyone to see it. It comes out literally less than 24 hours from now.
Oh my God.
And Chris, you sort of hinted at something. Do you want to hint at it a little bit more? What Louis has gotten up to in this next episode?
Yeah, so basically, I'm curious if you know about this, Serena, and I'll kind of spoil it a little. It's not like a big spoiler, but the immunity idol had
the guy.
Yeah, like the actual idol had like a space in between his legs that had a clue to the whereabouts of a hidden immunity idol. So the tribe that won, if they saw the clue, could pull it out and read the clue. So that's a little spoiler. Did you know anything about that? Did anybody maybe say anything? Don't say who, but did you know anything at all?
I mean, like I knew at some point, I'm going to keep this very vague, someone at some point found the hidden immunity idol. I didn't necessarily know like the how it got there, but like I knew some, in the afternoon that I like hung out, because I hung out after I got voted out for a little bit just to see the chaos. I knew at some point, again, found it, but again, not sure of the specifics of how it all happened.
Yes, you got to watch a party blow up a bouncy castle while we were trying to do challenges. Do you remember that?
That's hilarious.
What's funny is I think everyone watching the episode is like, "Ooh, that's going to be a good challenge that's coming up," but it's not.
No, it's not. That was sort of like a disaster.
The challenge, yeah. Upcoming, we have our blindfold challenge. We had to do it to them. There is this moment does not make it, and we'll talk about. There's a great Anessa moment that doesn't make it in the cut, but I will remember forever. And she vehemently denied.
You release it on Instagram or something?
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Because Anessa denies this.
I do have a question can I ask Serena one question?
Yes.
So
Sure.
something that happens in a lot of live reality games, like, as a player, I've played and all three of us, I think, Naomi, Alex, and I have played like 5 or more games. Sometimes we reminisce and think about like what we could have done wrong, or what we could have done right, or what we could have done differently. I mean, it's been 2 years. Have you thought about like those moments? Have those like ever like haunted your mind? Like, oh gosh, like brought like memories, like something triggered it for you, or just kind of never again thought about it after you lost?
I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, like in the immediate aftermath, like it definitely was like it like hurt, but I will say for some context, I obviously I'm a Survivor fan, and I actually wrote a paper in a college class later on Survivor, and so I remember I reached out to a couple of people who played LRGs, or I posted in a group or whatever, and so I mean, talking to those people was interesting. I don't know if it brought back like bad memories per se, or like the memories of the game, but like that was sort of the last time I like was with the LRG community of like reaching out and just talking to people. And I think Naomi, did I talk to you or
Oh
I can't
shit,
remember.
you did, right? Oh my god. I
About this
forgot
paper,
about
yeah, because
that.
it was like that paper was like a year ago, so it's still like a lot of time, right? Like I definitely
my
remember
God.
talking to Anessa because uh, Anessa was like coming back from brunch and was kind of drunk when she was talking to me, and it was so good. And I was like, I don't know how much of this I can use, but like, okay, like,
Was it
you
over
know.
the phone?
Yeah, it was either over the phone or over like a video chatter or something. Like it was not in person for sure, but I remember like talking to, and then I realized like I can't talk to every single person because every single like Survivor superfan I talk to, it takes like an hour to like
Oh, they
talk to
love
them,
to
and I was
talk
like,
about their experience.
exactly. And so I just ended up changing it to like part quotes, part survey, I think in the end. But
Yeah.
but
You
yeah,
gotta-
no,
you
I
gotta
mean.
send me that paper. I don't remember.
Oh
what
no,
the
it's
hell
badly written. Absolutely
Okay.
not. No, it's not. But like, I don't think I have any regrets. Like, my only regret is like maybe choosing a different rock. But like, you know.
It was a wood chip.
Okay.
It was a wood chip.
Oh, wood chip. My bad. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, listen, I want to make it very clear. We're a wood-based game. we operate in the trees. Yeah, and it's, Chris, that makes me really glad to hear. Like, Serena, we want people to play our game, like play this game to walk away having fun, and so even to hear that, even things don't work out, you still had fun. That's like a really sort of important part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Vanessa has one more thing to say, which is she was super drunk during the story.
That's drunk right now is what I want to know.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. So this kind of wraps it up. We've been talking for over an hour, which I love. It's great to catch up with you, Serena. It really is.
Yeah.
So the most important thing to remember is that episode 2 comes out at 7 p.m. We are always we're going to be having live chats on the side with the premiere function that YouTube allows, so you can chat with us. Lots of players sort of pop into the chat, so if you want to ask them something, maybe they'll be there and you can ask them. Alex, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I know that eviction was on, but I appreciate it. And you can follow Survivor New York on Instagram at Survivor New York. Emily Paddock got on my case today about us not having a Twitter account, but I'm going to say that I don't like tweeting, so you can't follow us on Twitter. But
maybe I'll make one.
Yeah, maybe Chris, you can do all that. And then you can like us on Facebook at Survive New York or Survive NY. And we have a viewer group, which you can join through Live Reality Games. So make sure you're a part of the viewer group so you can have discussions and you don't miss any of the fun behind the scenes content that we're going to post, like whatever the hell Anessa does in episode 2. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much. And we will have, I think, podcast Wednesday nights typically, but obviously Love Island wrapped yesterday, so we're having it today. So
that was my fault. That was 100% my fault.
I respect it fully. If there was like I don't actually care about any TV shows anymore, so it doesn't matter. But the comparison is fun. So Wednesdays are typically going to be our recording days at nighttime, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Watching, and please make sure
Serena.
to like games on Facebook as well. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed.
See you, Serena, Alex, Naomi. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right,